Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Tea with me, your host, Sweet D. And today, oh my goodness, so excited. I have the most lovely woman with me on the podcast today. Taryn Pinson is here. Hi, Taryn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for just giving us this time because your time is so incredibly valuable. Taryn is a prenatal and postpartum massage therapist right here where I live in Lyons, Colorado. She's a mom of 3 and she's often visited massage therapists during her own pregnancies. But she noticed that after giving birth, she didn't allow herself to have the time to continue with her self-care and massage. And after graduating therapy school in 2014, she set off on a journey to educate herself on all things pregnancy and postpartum related. She wanted to offer a space for women to feel safe and start to educate them on why we need care during pregnancy and beyond. Taryn has spent years developing these skills and many hours of continuing education to make sure she's continually evolving to offer a more balanced environment to relax and recover before and after childbirth. Yay!
Yay!
Yay. And on a personal note, I see Taryn for massage. I'm so grateful. I'm originally from the Bay Area and I moved out to Lyons, Colorado a little over a year ago. And one of the very first things that I did was like, where's my massage therapist? Because I knew I'm 3 years postpartum, but I knew that I needed some care between the move and COVID and everything else. So I did a ton of research on like who's who in town. And Taryn's name just kept popping up. I'm like, okay, obviously need to schedule a session with this lady. And from the moment I walked into that space, I was like, this is perfect. And so now I'm fortunate enough that I get to see you at least twice a month, sometimes more, but she is the best. I mean, not only are you incredibly calming and you know your stuff, obviously, because my body, I walk out of there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go take a nap now, night.
So sweet.
Ultimate relaxation. But you just have this very sweet way about you. Not only are you there to like show up and do the job, obviously, to do your work, but you're very genuine about it. It's very obvious the way that it comes off just being on the table. Like you genuinely care. And I mean, you're a mom of 3, girl. You got a lot going on.
You're so sweet.
It's amazing.
I don't know where you find the energy. All the time.
Well, I don't know where.
Thank you.
It's amazing. I don't know where you find the energy, but somehow you do it, and you do it so well. So, for the listeners, can you give us a little bit of backstory? How did you get into massage? Have you always been interested in health? How did that come about?
I've had my practice in Lyons for, almost 8 years. Wow. I spent 15 years in the dental field. You know, I was working with children and putting braces on and off, and kids would leave crying. And I was always interested in healthcare. I mean, I taught fitness classes for 10 years. It sort of evolved from that. You know, you'd be like the friend that was giving a massage and someone's like, oh, wow, you're really good at that. And then your brain just starts like going from there. So I always loved massage.
Yeah.
I liked getting it.
Yeah.
And it just, was this like way for me to kind of hone in on those skills in a different way.
When you started your massage school, did you know like I'm going to have my own practice, or did you want to go work with another team?
I kind of knew the whole time. I was like, nope, I'm going to go out on my own. I'm not going to work for somebody else. I don't care how long I have to struggle, because I knew that it wasn't going to be like right out of the gate, amazing success. But I just knew that if I just stayed with it and kept learning and evolving, that I would eventually find this niche, and I did.
And you certainly did. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, small town. Like Lyons is a small town. It feels like everybody knows somebody who knows somebody kind of thing, right? So when you first started building your practice, how did you go about doing that? Was it word of mouth? Did you run some local paper advertisements? How did that look?
Kind of all of those things. I was fortunate enough to have a good friend who's a massage therapist, and she sort of brought me into her space, the space that I'm in now, actually. Wow. And it just evolved. She would send her clients to me in word of mouth, in that early phase, just trying to get anyone on the table, Yeah. It wasn't until a year or two down the road where I'm like, wow, I really have this niche for pregnancy and going through my own pregnancy as a massage therapist. I was like, this is what I want to do. It sort of just sort of evolved. And it was word of mouth, and it was all of those things. I did, the half off specials and, just trying to get anybody in. And, over the course of all these years, it's sort of evolved into what it's become now.
Well, for the women that are listening to this, like 95% of the people listening to this podcast are women. So, hey, ladies.
Hey.
So for the ladies that are listening, that obviously, they don't live in Lyons, Colorado and can't necessarily come see you personally, what would be some advice for a woman who maybe is planning on starting a family or just found out they're pregnant? Is this type of massage just for ladies who are further along in their pregnancy or postpartum? Can you give more context to the ways in which we can start taking care of ourselves from the get-go, essentially, when it comes to the massage side of things?
Yeah, I mean, unless, if you're a person that just sort of enjoys massage anyways, you're sort of in that world, it's for anybody. You can start going and getting massage the moment you conceive, preconception. You can start doing abdominal work. We can work with breath work. We can work with pelvic floor stuff. There are so many places to start before you ever even, like, you're just thinking about becoming a mom and becoming pregnant. And so there's a lot of different techniques that we can start with to get your body ready for that. There's fertility massage, there's pelvic bowl clearing if you've been a mom before and you have past traumas. There's like all these things that we can do to prep your body before you even become pregnant. So that's probably the best place to start, just sort of becoming familiar with your body and what it needs, and getting everybody ready for baby making.
Yeah. I remember when I first got pregnant, my lower back, like something happened. My lower back was like, like you need to go see somebody. Like, this is not okay. But I spent like my whole first trimester just in pain and kind of sucking it up because I didn't think it was safe to get massage in the early stages. What's your advice on that in regard to like the first early stages? Is it okay to just go and get a massage from anyone? Is it very specific? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like on a mission to set out to solve that rumor and misconception. It's safe. I mean, we are not ill when we're pregnant. We are, I mean, we could be ill, but it's not something that we have to like be super careful. Or if you've had a history of miscarriage, some women want to wait until they've, entered that first trimester period, but it's always safe to get a massage. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to be in pain. And it is the most important thing that you can do is seek out a highly trained prenatal massage therapist. You don't want to just go see anybody. You don't want to walk into, one of your chain establishments and get a massage from anyone, because yes, there are pressure points. There are spots that you want to avoid, especially in the first trimester, especially with women who have had a history of loss. So like, that's kind of like my mission in life is like, yes, come get a massage the second you get pregnant, before you get pregnant, during your first trimester. Don't suffer. If you're sick, you're not feeling well, you have morning sickness, like those types of things, there's always a way around it so you can get care for yourself.
Yeah. And then after baby arrives, and I can only speak to my own experience, but after baby arrives, that transition, especially for like first time mom, right? Baby arrives and it's like, what? Like, first of all, what just happened to my body? And now here's this being that I have to keep alive, right? And it's
right.
And I feel like so many moms go through that really intense transition and we just forget about ourselves flat out. It's just like all energy, everything is about this little being, loving on it, caring for it, feeding it. And we forget to do that for ourselves. And so in my experience, I found that my postpartum massage care was everything. That hour and a half that I got to myself every week to just like cry or whatever I needed to do on the table was everything.
I have mamas that will come, the day after, 3 days after. They bring their little baby, they're nursing on the table, they have their partner, spouse with them in the room. It's really like a magical time, and there is no time limit. I mean, I guess if you had a cesarean birth and you were healing that way, then we would have to be a little bit more mindful. But even then, I've seen moms, face up and we just do some neck and shoulder and some relaxation. And yeah, there's really no like set time, like you must wait 6 weeks and have clearance from your doctor. No, come, let's put things back together and get you more comfortable so you can sleep and you can nurse and you can do all the things.
I'm really glad we're having this conversation because I don't know where I got the information from. I really don't, but everything, and maybe it was my own internal thought, but it was like, no, must wait for all these things. Like even right after I had Emma, I still waited a good like 4 or 5 weeks, after giving birth. And I felt that was like quick. But now that I have you in my world, if we have another baby, I'm going to be scheduling that business out.
Yes. Yeah, I've sort of gotten in the habit of like, okay, your due date's coming up. Like, let's get you set up for postpartum massage. We can always reschedule. And this is what it looks like. This is what you'll experience, and we'll kind of put the pelvis back in place. And so I think it's just that like education from your therapist. It's like, okay, this is safe. It's fine. Let's do this. And because we don't know, I didn't know.
Yeah. It's amazing how much we don't know until we go through this process, then we start to learn. Something that you shared with me that was really profound. It was like one of the first sessions I had with you, and you said, "Oh, do you have any children?" I was like, "Yeah, I have one." And at the time, I think she was 2.5, maybe, or two. I guess two. She was two. And you're like, "Wow, so you're only 2 years postpartum." I was like, "Only? I'm still postpartum?" Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, isn't just quote unquote postpartum like the year after? It's like, no, like it's you give birth, you have babe, and then depending on how many years it goes along, it's like, yeah, things go back in place, maybe not. But you saying like you're only 2 years, I felt like I had to be so much further along with my body and how I felt. And I really was beating myself up about that. Like, why am I not losing the weight? Or what's this belly? And what's all this? And you were so kind, Taryn, to be like, listen, you're good. Just, you're right where you need to be. And so for all you ladies listening, I pray that you all have somebody like Taryn in your world to really just go, hold on, mama, like everything's okay. You are where you need to be. Let's help you move things back, because giving birth is no joke. Regardless of how baby comes into the world, being pregnant is no joke, all of it. And you've had 3.
I've had 3. And you know what? The postpartum window, I mean, technically the postpartum window is 4 years. So we get like 4 full years of like, you just had a baby.
Wow.
You do the best you can do. You're postpartum. Yeah. I mean, that's the term. That's like the window of time is
4 years. So you didn't know that.
4 years.
4 years. Wow. Wow.
Crazy, right?
Well, with having a successful practice, for people listening, and if they're interested in obviously starting their own practice, when you started designing your brand and looking around and figuring out how you were going to do that, what would a strategy be, your best advice to putting yourself out there as a massage therapist?
That's funny that you asked me that, because I'm like the healer and the whole other part of it. So that doesn't come naturally for me. When I was putting myself out there, it was like massage, and this is like a logo that I really liked, and this is a name I randomly chose in school, and I wanted it to align with like yoga and healing, and like I didn't know any of those things. And like going forward, I'm like, do I rebrand? Do I do all this stuff? It's been like an evolution for me. I don't know all the tips and tricks, because I don't know what came first for me. It's like I just put myself out there, and then it took me 6 or 7 years to evolve into what my branding, was going to be for me. And
how would someone go about choosing their rate? Something that comes up a lot in my business is clients will come to me, or potential clients, and they'll say, I don't know what to charge. What is my service worth? And I feel like it's challenging to do that when it's a physical service. It's challenging to try to find like, well, how much should that be? So when you first started your practice, did you start at one rate and are you at another now?
yes, and I always feel like that's something I've spoken to so many massage therapists or people in this like healing, world of like, how do I set my rates? And this is the going rate around town. And so, yeah, I think it sort of starts like that, like, oh, $1 a minute used to be this thing years ago. And I think you just have to set what works for you, and then, go from there. I don't know how everyone else does it. And I know it feels different in the beginning. Like you don't know what your worth is. And then you figure that out and you're like, okay, this is what I need to charge. And I think the business side doesn't come as easy for all of us. You want to give, you want to heal, you want to help everyone. And like in the meantime, you're like sacrificing.
So something that I noticed you did recently is where you put out this great email that basically said, hey, I'm no longer accepting tips. Like, thank you so much for everyone's generosity over the last however many years. However, I'm just going to go ahead and raise my rate just slightly. And we're just going to say, no, thanks for the tips. And this is just the new rate. And here we are. What led you to making that decision?
For me, it felt awkward at the end of the session, which sort of disrupted this whole flow that I had. And for me, I wanted to align myself with the medical community. I'm not offering a spa like service. I feel like it can be considered that, right? You're going and you're relaxing and you can have that session flow like that. But for me, that's not what I was after. I wanted to align myself. So gratuity and tipping and having someone pay me based on my service, and it just didn't feel right to me. And it took me a lot of years and just like overthinking a million things to be like, no, this is what I want to charge, and I want everyone to know what they're coming into and not feel a weird pressure afterwards. All of that didn't feel right to me. And so I just finally took it away, and hopefully it feels good for my clients too.
Yeah. I mean, I was always happy to tip.
Well, you're amazing.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I can only imagine that feeling as the service. Like with my service, what I offer, there's no tipping. It's just straight. This is what it is. But I love that you said you wanted to align yourself with the medical industry. Is that what you said, with the medical?
Well, just the like the birthing community, the medical community, pelvic PTs, and different folks that they aren't accepting tips. It's not a tip-based service industry. So it's like, if I want to be in that category, I need to walk the walk and talk the talk, and that's kind of how that came about.
When I saw that email, I was like, yes, it's like the next level, the next step in your business, because there's so many people that don't even notice those things. So many. And you did. And you followed your entrepreneurial intuition. Like, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to go ahead and make this decision. That's best for me. It's best for the business, best for my clients. And this is it. And overall, like it feels better for everyone. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what you do. Right. It all comes down to just cohesiveness and how everybody's feeling about it all. So yay.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yay. That means a lot to me, because I know that you are, everything about business. So when you were like, yes, Taryn, this is great, do that. So I was like, oh, she said I'm doing the right thing. Like I just felt validated. So thank you.
You're so funny. You don't need the validation. And I wish I knew everything about business, but businesses are constantly evolving. New information comes out, and I'm grateful that I know enough that I can continue my business, but we're always learning. And I think that's what makes being a business owner challenging and fun. And we get to make those decisions. At the end of the day, one of the best parts, in my opinion, about being an entrepreneur is we get to make those decisions, and no one else can tell us what to do or how to do it. And we're just going to do it and see how it flows. Right. So let me ask you this. What would you say has been one of the greatest lessons / biggest failures that you've had so far with your business? Or maybe you haven't had any.
I mean, no, I guess my biggest failure, I think, was undervaluing myself and not knowing my worth going into it, not setting boundaries right off the bat, trying to please everyone. I don't know if those are failures or just opportunities to improve and learn, but it was definitely a struggle in the beginning to try to make myself and my service match what somebody wanted. Like, what do you need? What do you want? What kind of massage do you want? And of course I wanted to know those things, but I need to also honor, like, this is what I provide. This is the service I bring. This is how I do it. And I can't cater that to everyone's individual, wants and needs. It's like, you seek me out because that's what you are looking for. And so maybe I don't know if that's a failure, but it's definitely a learning experience.
A learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
Another just incredible, valuable point that you're bringing up. I think this applies to any service-based business, where you don't want to take every single client just because the money is coming through. It's like, if you have a really lame client, you're like, I don't want them to book. I'm not interested in working with this person. And I know my value. I know my worth. We're going to move on and find the people that want your exact service. You shouldn't have to cater. You shouldn't have to, if it's not a equal energy exchange match. Right. So how far along in your business did you finally come to that realization of like, okay, no?
It took me several years. I would say probably, I tried to do the double office. I tried to do the back and forth and juggling. And I think it wasn't probably until, 5 or 6 years into it, I was like, this is what I want. This is how I need to have it. This is how I need to structure it. Like, it took me a long time to realize that. And it just sort of clicked one day. And like, everything has been magically evolving. And, I don't know how woo-woo you are and all that stuff, but you like make these manifestations and this like thing that you want for your life and your practice. And all of a sudden as soon as I made that shift in my mind, I just started attracting all these like amazing women into my life. Like you came in, it's just like different women that are in like the pelvic floor industry and in business. And just, I like all these doors just started opening the moment I realized that for myself. And it has been just like amazingly upward, from there on out.
As women, I think we are a lot more powerful than we give ourselves credit.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get woo-woo with it, girl.
I know. I was like, well, how woo-woo? Do you want me to talk about my manifestations?
Of course. We want to hear all about that. Yes. I believe in the power. I've read The Secret. I believe in the power of manifestation big time. I feel like if we have open hearts, open minds, level-headedness, have a clear understanding of our boundaries and what we want and what we don't want, right? If we at least know what we do not want, then the opportunity for growth is massive. So yay, way to call that in, girl. That's awesome.
Thanks, friend.
Well, if ladies in the area, in this part of Colorado, are interested in connecting with you, how can they do that?
They can hop on my website, omebodyworks.com. I have a Facebook page and Instagram linked there. That's really the best way. You can connect with me in a mom's group on Facebook and see all my information.
Awesome.
Come into Lyons and visit my office.
It's a beautiful, beautiful space. Yes, if you've never been to Lyons, Colorado, it's a magical spot. There's a lot of really cool things going on here. Amazing. We didn't even look at the town. When we put an offer in on this house, we didn't know if the town was Estes or in actual town. We're like, I don't know, but it feels right. Let's just
You're like, sold. We'll take it.
Yeah, that's how special this place is. So anyways, well, thank you so much for taking the time with all of us listening today. You are a massive, massive part of my own healing and growth. And I just appreciate you so, so much. So thank you for sharing your experience with the listeners and for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's always good to talk to you, but it was really cool that you invited me to do this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. And I will be sure to have all the links and ways you can connect with Taryn in the show notes. And that is it for this week, ladies. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss an episode. And if you'd like to connect with me directly, follow me on Instagram, where you'll get daily business tips and continued encouragement. See you there.